In this video, I'm going to guide you through page number 15 to page number 18 of your handout. So I hope that after this video, lots of concepts will be cleared. Starting with programming languages. So what are programming languages? They define and compile a set of instructions for the CPU. So I want to talk to my CPU. What I need to do, I need to know the language of the CPU. So those are called as programming languages. I am going to learn that language, I am going to write my instruction, give it, and CPU will understand it and perform that task for me. So every programming language has a set of keywords along with syntax. So now syntax is kind of, you can say, rules of writing a language. So I'm marking it here. So for example, for English, I need to know the grammatical rules. So similarly, for different languages, there are different syntax and you need to remember the rules for writing that particular language. So it is used to create instructions. Of course, if I know the syntax of a language, I can write the instructions, create instructions, give it to my central processing unit. So now, like, there's so many programming languages which have been created. So all of them have different specific purposes. So now when we talk about the level of abstraction is actually how much hardware knowledge that we need to know. So for high level languages, we require very less information of the hardware. I'm going to give an example over here, that if we talk about cars, now if you're driving a car, you are not familiar with how the energy is traveling, how the petrol is converting, what about the engine oil, like the back end or the inner working of the car. You are not really familiar with that until you are into cars, but you are familiar with the steering wheel, with the brake, with the pedals, with the indicators, etc., because those are the things that you're going to use to drive that. So now you don't know the inner details, but you do know the outer details. Similarly, in these programming languages, we know the basic things, we know the syntax, but we don't know how the code works behind the screen, okay, in terms of chips, in terms of binary numbers. A few of these languages provide less or no abstraction at all, while others provide a very high abstraction. So we are going to differentiate between programming languages in terms of abstraction. So we have two: low level languages and high level languages. Now the major difference between both of these is that any programmer can understand, compile, and interpret a high level language feasibly as compared to the other one, because low level languages are not understandable by humans. Why? Because they work as zeros and one. Let's study it in detail further. So what are high level languages? A very important question. Please don't only write that high level languages are human understandable. Of course they are human understandable, but you need to define it, but you need to write more with the examples as well. So these are the programming languages that allow humans to write computer programs, and interact with the computer system without having to have specific knowledge of the processor or hardware that the program will run on. Again, it provides a level of abstraction, high level of abstraction. How? Because right now we don't have the knowledge of processor, we don't have the knowledge of the hardware that we're using, we are only familiar with the syntax. These languages provide us with some help, that we don't have to know the specifications and we can write the program still. So they use syntax which reflects every language. So like they are very much similar to English language, they can use some words similar, and they have inbuilt libraries and functions. So it's like sometimes we don't have to write the complete function or the complete code, we can get the pre-built code from libraries, we can fetch those code, add it in our basic structure. So now the few examples are PHP, C, C++, Java, Python. Python itself is a high level language. So there are a lot more. So at least you should know like 3 or 4 examples. What are low level languages? Now these are only which can be understood by the computer. So these are also known as machine language, and it consists of only 2 symbols, ones and zeros. So our circuit or our chips work on the state of on or the state of off, just like switches, like on the switchboard. Okay, so on means 1 and off means 0. So computer can only understand these 2 instructions. So when we write the program in high level languages, they get translated, okay, and it goes to the computer and in the form of 1 0 0 1 whatsoever, okay, and the computer can only understand this. Computer doesn't know about the high level language. Okay, so if there's a question that are high level languages translated for computers to understand or low level, so of course high level languages are understood, are translated. Okay, so they need an interpreter, a compiler, or a translator. For example, I know English and you know Chinese, so if I'm going to say anything, I will need a translator in between. The translator is going to translate my English into Chinese and tell it to you, and only then you will understand. Okay, so machines can easily understand it. They're not very easy to understand for humans. They depend on machine. These languages obviously depend on machines, and they require assemblers, that as I told you that they require assemblers for translating and to understand the language. Okay, moving further, now we're going to move towards Python. There's not a lot of detail about Python in your book because you're already familiar with it, because you have started in grade 6. So we are going to move towards our basic concept of variables and data types. So variables are like containers. Okay, so this is my container. I want to put the value 10 in it. Now 10 is stored in my container, but of course I need to label it, so I'm going to label it with A. Now I'm going to give an example that I have lots of pens. Okay, I want to separate red pens from that. I'm going to take a box, put all my red pens in that box, and I'm going to label that box with red pens. Now whenever I want a red pen, I will go to that box, get a pen from there. Similarly, variables in Python are containers or boxes or a storage location where I can put in my values or data, so that whenever I want to use it in my program, I can directly use that variable. I might forget, okay, what the value was, but of course I know my variables. So over here, there are some rules to name the variables. Now, whenever you're naming, you should know that a variable cannot start with a number. You cannot write like this, A variable cannot start with a number. They can only start with a letter or an underscore character. So over here you have all the legal variable names. You can at least remember like 3 out of these. And for the rules, of course, you should remember all the rules. Okay, so variable names are case sensitive. So for example, you're writing age in all small letters. Now you're writing A capital. Over here you're writing all capitals. So now they work as 3 different variables. This is variable 1, this is variable 2, this is variable 3. So your capital and small letters differ. They make new variables. Okay, so now variable name cannot be any of the Python keywords. For example, what are Python keywords? Print is a Python keyword, input is a Python keyword. So you cannot use these for variable names. So please remember the names of legal variable names and illegal variable names. Now we have data types. Now data type is actually, it tells the computer that what kind of data is stored. I have a lot of data, but I need to categorize it. I need to tell that this is a number, this is a string, this is a Boolean data type. Let's explore and you're going to know it. Okay, so now over here you have an example that considers school library. Different type of books are stored on different shelves. So how will I know that these are English books? Because I have a separate shelf for it and I have a separate name for it. Okay. Similarly, in Python, we have different data types. So first is numeric data type. Now numeric data type has further 2 data types, integers and float. So integers are whole numbers. Okay. Whole numbers means -1, -2, 0, 1, 2 until infinity. So all whole numbers are integers and all decimal numbers are floating point numbers. So for example, 3.1, -1.2, 5.5, 4.5, etc. Okay, so all numbers that are with a decimal are called floating point numbers, and all numbers which are whole numbers without a decimal are called integer numbers. Now we have string data type. If we have a combination of characters, means I am going to write name is equals to John 2. Now it has alphabets, it has numbers, and it is a combination. It consists of lots of alphabets. So this is called as a string. So it can be used to represent text or a sequence of characters. It can store names, addresses, and messages. So there can be a question in your exam, maybe like what you are given a data type and you're asked that. You're given a data or a value and you're asked that, okay, this can be stored in which data type? So you must be familiar with the categories, and of course you can do it then. Last is the Boolean data type that works in two conditions: yes or no, true or false, open or close, like in this or that condition. So when you have two conditions, you have to use the Boolean data type. Now we have operators. We want to perform some calculation, so we need to use an operator. For example, if I write over here 3 plus 5, now this is my value, this is also another value, this is my operator. Okay, so similarly in Python we have 4 different operators: assignment operator, arithmetic, logical, and relational. For now in your syllabus, according to your syllabus, we are only going to learn about assignment and arithmetic operators. So assignment, from the word, remember, assign, to give a value, to appoint a value. So I have a variable called sum, or I have a variable called a. I want to store the value 5 in a. So for that, I just need to use an equals to sign. What will happen? The value of 5 will be stored inside the variable called a. Okay, so this is my assignment operator. You should remember the symbol. The equals to sign is the assignment operator in Python. Okay, so arithmetic operators are very basic, used for simple maths calculation. Division operator is the backslash sign. This is not this one. No. In computers, we use this backslash sign. This is the multiplication operator. So division is, for example, I write 10 divided by 5, so that will be equals to 2. Multiplication operator, I want to write 2 into 5, that is equals to 10. Got it? This simple maths one. Addition and subtraction, I hope that I don't have to explain this. Now comes the modulus operator. It gives the remainder value after dividing the left operand by the right operand. So if I write 10 divided modulus 3, what will happen? It will perform the calculation the same way. 10 divided by 3. 3 3s are 9. How much is left? 1. So now normally in division we use this value, but in modulus we are going to use the remainder value. Okay, so answer is 1. This is equals to 1. I hope you got it. Okay, so if you're asked the difference between the modulus operator and the division operator, and I've asked you this a million times, so you are going to write that the division operator gives the quotient, this one. Okay, it is used to divide the value on the left hand side of the value on the right hand side, whereas the modulus operator gives us the remainder that is left after dividing both the values. Okay, so this all part and the next page I'm not going to explain it because we are already done with the practical, but please do just skim through this, because maybe you're asked to debug a code, so you should know that. Okay, for example, this is written and it's written like 2 sorry, let me erase it. So it's written like 2 num plus 3 num. So do you know the error in this? If you have carefully listened to my lecture, our variables cannot start with numbers. So please, you have to skim through these programs. I'm not explaining in detail because we have already done this like so many times, but please definitely go through these, especially the print statements and the purpose of print statement as well. Just a small tip: print is used to show output. Okay, output on the screen. And over here you have another keyword, input. Input is used to let me draw it again. Input, the word input is used to fetch the value or get the value from the user. Okay, so I hope after this video lots of concepts will be cleared, and all the very best. I am pretty sure you all will ace it.